My name's Dick Fleming. I was a member of First Force Recon during the Vietnam War, and I wrote about my time in Vietnam in a book called Chasing Charlie, a Force Recon Marine in Vietnam. And it's available on Amazon and also on my website, firstforcerecon.com. And when I think about this book, I think I should tell you a little bit about it before you buy it and spend your money on something you may not like. The book does contain some stories about combat, fairly intense combat. It talks about our missions, our training. But in the main, my reason for writing the book, I think, was personal. I was trying to come to grips with the fact that I survived while so many other men in my company did not, and trying to understand the reasons for that. I wrote these stories, and when I wrote these stories, and I wrote the book and submitted them for publication about 10 years ago, the editor of the book said, "Dick, you've got nearly almost 400 pages here. You can't write a book that's 400 pages long. Nobody's going to read it. You got to cut that back down." So in the book, what I did was sometimes I combined missions, and I always used nicknames instead of the real names. I wanted to conceal the identity of the people that I spoke about, sometimes negatively. I hope I succeeded, but I eventually got the book down to about a little over 200 pages, and they cut out a lot of the pictures. But I put the pictures online at firstforcerecon.com, and they augment the stories if you read the book and or look at these videos, and then go to the website. I think you'll get a better understanding of some of the topics that I cover in that book. But actually, when I look at the book and I look at the title, in a way, I think it should really be named something like Stupidity, the Stupidity of War, because to my mind, that is the primary thing that sticks in my memory over all these years. The stupid things that happened by chance, accident, lack of training, or plain chance that took men's lives or caused them to be injured. And somehow I managed to skirt through that without being seriously injured, or certainly I wasn't killed. So what I want to talk to you about today, or a story I'd like to tell you about today, is one that illustrates that the point that I was talking to you about. I had left off my previous video after being on a guard duty and shooting at the captain's jeep as he tried to sneak by my patrol post and catch me sleeping. That, of course, landed me in hot water with the brass, for that period of time, for a period. I was persona non grata from that point on, and the captain made my life miserable. But at the time, at that week, we were preparing for the general to come in and visit our compound at Force Recon, and the major wanted to put on a dog and pony show for him, which meant that we'd all be trying to impress him with our techniques, perhaps a ladder extraction, showing him how that would work, or the rope, or jungle penetrators, even perhaps maybe showing off our special equipment, our special special weapons. You know, so we were going to put on a dog and pony show for him. And after a couple days, just before he was supposed to arrive, a few days before he was supposed to arrive, they asked for volunteers for a group of Marines to do a rappel for him out of a helicopter. And I was really good at rappelling, and I was trying to get get back on the better side of the officers. So I thought it'd be a good idea for me to volunteer. Rappelling is a skill like any other skill, and you need to practice it, and you need to know what you're doing. And I did. When we were at Anwa, there was a great big tower, and we had set up a rappelling station on it, and we'd rappel off of that tower time and time again. And we had sort of an informal competition among ourselves. You know, if you could make it down in one jump to the ground, you would win the competition, certainly. And I learned that, yeah, you could do that, and if you stopped about 10 feet off the ground and braked, that the line would stretch, the rope would stretch that amount, and you'd land on your feet just as light as a feather. And I used to do that all the time, and you know, win those competitions. So I felt very confident in volunteering. And I thought, well, you know, it might give me a feather in my cap, and maybe have the brass look more favorable on me, because I certainly didn't want to be on any more of those work parties that they were assigning me left and right. So I volunteered, and I was accepted to go down and be in this dog and pony show, and I'd be one of the men rappelling. There were 4 of us going to be rappelling out of a helicopter, C-46 helicopter. And so the day that the general was supposed to arrive, we all got down by the officers' hooch there, and the gunnery sergeant came out, Gunny T, came out with a whole box of freshly pressed and new utilities, you know, camouflage utilities. And they checked us all out, making sure our hair was freshly high and tight, and our gold jump badges were shined to a gleam. And they even gave us new bush hats, these big bush hats that looked great, were completely useless in the bush, but they looked cool, that's for sure. And so we were all decked out in that. And you know, he Major approved. He thought we were spick and span, and we were sent back to our hooch to wait for the helicopter to come in, the general's helicopter, which was due around noontime. Well, about 10 o'clock, 10:30 in the morning, we got the word that the general wasn't going to visit our compound at all. He decided to change over and go down to Recon Battalion's compound, and that they'd be putting on the dog and pony show. So I don't know how the politics in that worked, but Gunny T came around and collected all of our new utilities and put them back in the box. Got the hats from us, took the hats away from us, and we were told to stand down because the general was going to a different base camp entirely. And the Recon Battalion, which I had been a member of before, was going to be doing the demonstrations. So that afternoon, I heard a story the story of what happened during that demonstration. The general's helicopter landed, and the team got the rappelling gear and were told to put it onto the helicopter of the general. That would be the helicopter that was going to be used. we were going to use one of the helicopters that we usually used in combat insertions. You know, those guys really knew what they were doing in terms of getting us in and out and setting up everything, and we had rappelled out of their helicopter 20 times without any problem. Those guys knew what they were doing. But in any case, the guys from Recon Battalion got into the helicopter after the general left and was sitting there at the watching the dog and pony show, and the guys hovered in the helicopter and then rappelled out one after another, 4 of them. And 2 of them, when they got down to the ground, 2 of them came down to the ground and unhooked from the line. And then the second and the third and final 2 came down to the ground and were in the process of unhooking when the helicopter took off. And they were still on the line. And the helicopter, I guess to impress the general, did a low pass over the compound. And before the crew chief could detach the line, they dragged these 2 guys through the wire, just cut them to pieces. Well, the official reason for that tragedy was that they said that they were using a new rope, and the rope had kinked, and they couldn't get off it in time. Well, that was just baloney. Tell you, I knew exactly what happened. The crew chief, when he saw the 2 guys hit the ground, instead of detaching the line from the helicopter the way that our pilots and crew chiefs did, or pulling up the rope, this gave the thumbs up to the pilot, and the pilot, trying to impress the general, took off from the landing zone and buzzed the compound with these 2 guys still attached. I understand that one was killed immediately, and the other one was severely injured. He was cut to ribbons, basically. You know, and I heard about that, and geez, you know, you hear something like that, and you say to yourself, you know, thank God it wasn't me. And then you feel that guilt in you that you survived and they didn't. You know, why did I survive and they didn't? When you think about it later, well, there's no meaning to that. You can't. Your mind you can't come up with an answer for that. You know, again, there's fate, luck. I could have easily been on those lines, the same as they. You know, the general made a snap decision to go to a different location. That's all it was. But the real reason was that the crew chief hadn't been experienced with that rappelling techniques. You know, normally, again, you know, when the team hits the ground, you just don't take off again. You either wait and then pull up the line after you're sure that everybody's clear, or you drop the line. You know, they have a quick release on that line. They could have dropped it. But by taking off with the men still attached, they didn't stand a chance. And the pilot, he didn't know either, because he can't see what's going on the ground below him. He's flying the helicopter. You know, he can't decide that. He can't know what's going on behind him. That's the job of the crew chief. But so many of these incidents happened, and I think they need to be told. I think that it's one thing to be killed in combat, you know, fighting for your country, to be killed honorably in combat. It's another thing to die in that manner. And over and over and over again, I saw these stupid mistakes take the lives of dedicated men, highly trained Marines. It wasn't their fault at all. It wasn't anything that they did. But it still cost them those mistakes cost them their lives. So, war is so arbitrary. Who lives and who dies? The man next to you gets shot and you're fine. It's a strange situation. I still haven't come to terms with it yet. But that's my story. Thank you for listening.